This is the Nova Air C. This is the Nova 3 Color. The Nova Air C, you can think of it as the continuation of the Nova 3 Color. They're both good-looking devices around the same $400 price point, but how are they really different exactly? Let's head over to the chalkboard. Now, they both have a 7.8-inch Kaleido Plus layer, 1404 by 1872 resolution at 300 ppi and 100 ppi color, octa-core processor with 3 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs onboard storage. They also both have USB-C, speakers, and a microphone. That's a ton of similarities. How are they different? Well, to start off, the Nova Air C is running Android 11. And since you can't upgrade older devices, buying a new device is the only way to get a new version of Android. Then comes the dimensions. The Nova Air C is smaller in every single dimensions than its predecessor. However, the Nova Air Color is 1 gram heavier than the Nova 3. The battery has also been significantly reduced all the way down to 2000 milliamps versus the previous 3150 milliamps. The Nova Air C, however, does come with a much-needed warm light system and a 3-pin copper connection on the side for peripherals like page turn cases. Now for the most important part, e-ink on-cell technology. On-cell technology actually combines the touch layer and the display itself into a singular layer, thus shortening the stack of hindrances between your eyes and the viewable surface. The stylus pens are also drastically different. The nibs themselves are exactly the same using a graphite blend plastic tip and are completely interchangeable between the two pens. The Nova 3 Color features 2 erasers on the pen, whereas the Air C has no erasers at all, instead has a better tactile feel to the pen build quality, and you can snap it to the side. We're not really going to focus on the devices themselves at all, and reason being, they're running the same specs. They're really just identical units in terms of the performance. They say the battery on the Nova Air C is more refined, although it is smaller, and this one is a bigger battery, so if anything, you're probably going to get a little more longevity out of the Nova 3 Color than you would the Nova Air C. Hit up the video card on the top right corner if you want to see reviews on either of these two, but for now let's look at the screens themselves. This is the exact same shot, and you'll notice something very apparent right out of the gates. This is more blue, and why that is because there's no warm light to counteract any of the blue tinge. For example, if we pump it all the way up to max, it's going to be very white and very blue. Now, on its own, it doesn't look too bad, but put up against something that does have the ability to choose warm lighting, it starts to become apparent. So you do have that orange light to balance everything out. You can even be easier on your eyes and go into a lower light level, more of a candle light. So having that second light control bar is absolutely invaluable. This is the exact same photo at the exact same brightness level with no warm lighting applied. You'll notice right now, this looks better. The colors are a little bit more vivid, and there's less things in front of your eyes. That's the whole thing about on-cell technology, is that it actually limits things that are hindering your eyes and the image on your unit. Now you'll also notice that the colors are a little bit different looking, and why that is because you can go to the e-ink center on Android 11 or display control on the Android 10 version and mess with all of these. Vividness enhancement, dark color enhancement, and color brightness can change the game entirely. So you can really alter pretty much every aspect of this, make it more pale, make it more vivid, etc. So we try to keep them exactly the same kind of level between all 3 of these. They are kind of labeled differently and they act differently on both units. Staining has not necessarily been corrected, so you will have to utilize something like the floating ball to do some refreshes in order to kind of kick it to clean the screen. Both of these are on max brightness with the blue light. On the Nova 3 Color, that's all you have is the light on or off. So let's turn the lights completely off and look at the blues now. You'll notice that they look identical. absolutely identical in every single way. It's because now you're just looking at the inherent screen that is on these units, which are using effectively the exact same screen technology for all intents and purposes. So we'll turn that back on, but now we're going to correct it with the warm lighting. Back that off, find a nice pale middle ground to add a little bit of white to it, right about there. So now you can see the blue is significantly cut. You'll see the blue, the overexposed right here, and this is more of a softened experience with a little bit of stone thrown in there. So that's the advantage of having that warm light to really correct the color situation. Something we're actually missing on the Nova 3 Air is the home button. So on the Nova 3 Color, you actually had that button to go, not home, but back, essentially. Whereas on the Air C, you have to rely on gesture support. So you have to swipe up, and then that will kind of take its place from having that hardware-driven button. But because that button is gone, every single dimension, as we mentioned at the beginning of this video, has been shortened and lowered so that this is a smaller shell. It also needs to be noted that this is a very rounded device, the Nova 3 Color. It's very, very round, and pitted up against this, very bulky and big. Whereas this is very sleek, slender, and it's a very short, thin unit. It's very indicative of modern technology versus this, which does feel a little bit dated. These two are very similar and very different at the exact same time. The core mechanics of the processor, RAM, storage, and screen size remain constant between the two devices. Onyx simply adds bells and whistles like warm lighting, magnet snap pen, peripheral port, and an all-new body. They're not night and day, but they don't have to be, because the Nova Air C is replacing the Nova 3 Color and continuing the legacy of the greatest 7.8 inch of all time. For GoodyReader.com, this is Peter.